Today is the day. I will finally go over the starter Pokemon for my Fakemon region, Kapelago. Over a year ago, on April 5th, 2023, I uploaded a Fakemon video, and that video is the first video with canon Pokemon to Kapelago. Since then, I've been making Fakemon to inhabit the islands of the Kapelago region. From Link Control to Y-Pain, from Healy to Dextraclaw, from Cerberus to Pulpunct. I enjoyed making them. But now is the time to get into the trio of Pokemon that new trainers will have at the start of their Kapelago journey. Hey guys, JodomReels back with another video, and as I said in the introduction, this video will be all about the 3 Fakemon starters for my region of Kapelago, which is inspired by Australia, the Caribbean, Malta, Central America, and other various places around the world, map-wise, plus whatever I feel like adding. I have been officially making Fakemon for this for a while now, but multiple people have asked me, what are the starters? Well, I'm here today to answer that question. Let's get into the first starter, the Grass type. The Grass starter for Kapelago started from a play on words. Back when I started working on Kapelago behind the scenes, I had a side region called Modnar. That is basically the origin for many of the Fakemon now in Kapelago. But I wanted to restart that region with a new coat of paint for YouTube. I mentioned that because I was going to use the starters from there for Kapelago. Unfortunately for Modnar, only the Fire starter made it in, which we'll get to when we cover the Fire starter. The Water starter was pretty good, but I'll go more in depth later. Going back to the Grass starter, the original Modnar one was a grass lion cub that evolved into a mane, with a bush mane mixed with a saber-toothed tiger. Then, after I made that, Gen 9 was revealed, and alongside it, Sprigatito. So obviously, I had to do something different. I thought about what animals haven't been turned into starters that, to my knowledge, no popular Fakemon creator is using. That last point is mainly so people don't think I'm copying anybody, but yeah. I don't remember the exact chain of events, but I ended with a kiwi fruit kiwi bird that gains inspiration from the Prevos mango, also known as the green-breasted mango hummingbird as it evolves. The first stage is relatively similar to the original design, which itself is already similar to an actual kiwi bird. I made the green diamonds also act like wings or front limbs because it makes the design look more friendly. Not too much to say about the first stage, but the second and third evolutions are way different. Well, the second stage is also kind of similar to its original design, but that isn't the point. I made the body have more green and less magenta because I only added magenta originally because mangoes have a purpley color along with the orange. But I saved the purple for the final stage. I will say, I do like the middle stage in this new rendition. 1 month after I intended to start it, and from here onward in the script, I wrote this about a month after I had finished the designs, which is why this video took so long. Talk about procrastinating. For the final evolution, I made the white shines in the eyes be more similar to racing helmet visors, and put more fruit on the head to resemble a hair bun, and those head wraps made from fruits in movies. I added diamond near the ankles because that felt like a cool design choice. I made the brown on the shinies more pale and had dark blues for the greens. I also gave some dark browns for the middle Evo and some yellows for the final Evo.
Also, hi, it's editing me. The file for the format for the designs was lost, so there's a new format for the Pokemon. Just an FYI.
Here is Kiwiddle, the Kiwi Pokemon, from Kiwi and Little, a grass type. Let's evolve it, shall we? Here is Beak Kiwi, the Mango Pokemon, from Beak, because its beak is starting to gain prominence, and Kiwi, a grass type. Final evolution time! Here is Kiwangos, the Kiwi Mango Pokemon, from Kiwi, Mango, and Prevos, the other name for the green-breasted mango hummingbird, a grass type. All in all, I think this is a pretty good grass starter, even if my favorite grass starter is still Rowlet. Next we move on to the Fire Starter. As stated before, this is the only starter that carried over from Modern, and there's a good reason for it. So I originally made this design back before Paldea, when everyone was on the Fire Starter Zodiac theory, when people thought that all Fire Starter animals were connected to the Chinese Zodiac animals, even though some of those are kind of a stretch looking back on it. But I was one of those fools who wanted to believe it, so I looked at my options, especially because I wanted to make a fire flying type starter. So I chose a snake to make a Quetzalcoatl, or feathered serpent. I know, very creative. What if, however, the snake has lava filling its bodies, like blood, and the lava that leaks out becomes its wings? For this design, I had to drastically change the pose, because otherwise it'd be so boring and ugly. I also added a singular feather to show towards its evolution. I made the decision to make the black on the tail based on obsidian, an igneous rock formed from cooling lava, or from flowing water onto a lava block. For the middle stage, I made it have more of a personality, that being a slight brat looking for attention, / being the troublemaking party head. I made a feather sticking out of its mouth to resemble a tongue to help this, and made the pupils in the eye be made from obsidian, along with the inside of the mouth being the lava. I also will say that the old design I used for the main reference in the stage is accidentally the final stage for the bit. But when I swap it over to the proper one, I realized I subconsciously made it more similar to the old middle stage design. For the final stage, I gave it the double lava wings. I also made the whites of the eyes be the inner lava, along with a feather resembling eyeshadow. Design-wise, I think this one changed the most drastically. For the first and second stage shinies, I did more purples and dark blues, while for the final stage shiny, I did dark gray and light blue, along with light green for the second stage. Here is Quecali, the fire snake Pokemon, from Quetzal and Caliente, which means temperature-wise, hot in Spanish. A fire type. Let's evolve it, shall we? Here is Burntsel, the feathered flame Pokemon, from Quetzal and Burnt, a fire type. Final evolution time! Here is Scorycoatl, the burning Quetzal Pokemon, from Quetzalcoatl, Scorch, and Scoria, a kind of igneous rock that is formed when molten rock cools from contact with the open air. A fire and flying type. All in all, I think this is my favorite of the starters, but only by a hair because the next one is pretty close in second place. Let's get into the water starter. This, along with the grass starter, were made for this region and not made in the predecessor region. The previous water starter was a platypus based on their poison barbs, which becomes an assassin / ninja and gains the water poison type. But also in Modnar, I made a platypus that split evolves into different combat classes, including a rogue that took inspiration from the starter. So when it came to making this region remake, I wanted to combine those lines and make it its own Fakemon line instead of the starter. So then I was wondering, what will the water starter be? I remembered the water starter of a region I made before Sconson called Pion. Kind of a bad region. It's really bad. I did have some bangers in that region though. The water starter stayed with me from that region because I think it was one of my favorite ideas. It was a snail that represents water with a shell that represents a boat or ship. So while the earlier designs had the shell looking more like a literal ship, why don't we make the ship more subtle in this one? I wanted this one to be the starter with no thoughts, head empty, so I gave it a carefree expression and a slightly blank stare. I made its shell less boat-shaped, but gave it window-shaped designs and a white protrusion on the shell resembling a small sail. In the second evolution, the shell becomes more boat-like, and I gave it a goatee and face spikes. The goatee is to help point to the final stage, and the face spikes are both to slightly resemble a mustache and resemble the metal brim of the helmet's conquistadors are depicted with. Also, now I can say what the trio connecting theme is. Different aspects of Latin America throughout history. We have the natural ecosystem and wildlife in Kiwangos, the native humans inhabiting the area and their culture, for here it's more specifically the Aztec, in Scoricoatl, and the conquistadors that slaughtered the natives and took over the land in this line. For the final evolution, I was going to just have the metal parts be the helmet, but I decided to include more so the color doesn't stand out too much. The evolutionary line isn't steel though, because if I did, the only starter line that doesn't share the types of my Sconson starters would be Quacali. I wanted the final stage's shell to be a multi-tiered warship, similar to those segmented shells, but obviously more exaggerated, and also similar to the Warship Island from the filler arc by the same name from One Piece. I was contemplating on making the facial hair white to reference Seafoam, but I decided against it. The shiny colors have purple and green/yellows for the first two stages, and some dark blues and greens for the final stage. Here is Snailer, the snail Pokemon, from Snail and Sailor, a water type. Let's evolve it, shall we? Here is Veslug, the sailor Pokemon, from Vessel and Slug, a water type. Final evolution time! Here is Congastrador, the bark snail Pokemon, from Conquistador and Gastropod, a group of invertebrates like snails or slugs, a water and fighting type. All in all, I had a lot of fun making all of these designs. And there you have it, the starter Pokemon for the Kapelago region. What do you guys think about these designs? Which one would you guys pick? Tell me your answers down in the comments. I will say one thing, because I know that I find this tedious. In a hypothetical setting where this is a real game, the starters could be found in the wild and post-game. It won't be required to breed them and trade. I just wanted to say this because I know some people who agree with me when saying that needing to trade for the other starters can kind of be a pain. On an unrelated note, while I have some content ideas for the near future, all you guys need to worry about right now is just having patience, especially since one of the things has been in the works since earlier this year. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the future.